slinks! Come on, you big slink! Get it done! Be honest with you guys, after watching that both of them was shite. It was one of the worstest heavyweight title fights I have ever seen. It was bullshit. Come on! I would annihilate both of them on the same night. Fucking shite. Get your fucking checkbook out, because the Gypsy King is here to stay forever! Go, Paris!
I'm ready to sing it now.
Go on, Dennis!
Sing it up.
1,000 kisses from you.
It's too much. Oh, no.
Ooh, what's good, family? It's your man, the YB, back once again. So we just heard there from your mans, Tyson, Fury, reacting to the whopper of a show we all just witnessed. And I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one who thought that. In my post-fight live reaction video, I said that Usyk, bearing in mind he won, was a whopper in that fight. Yeah, now I'm not saying, I don't even think he could do better than that, to be quite frank. I know there'll be a lot of people, a lot of Usyk fans, who think he's the best thing since sliced bread. That is his limitation, people. Yeah, go back and watch the Chisora fight. We saw AJ do about a little bit more of Chisora-ness than the first fight, and we saw the impact that made. The first fight he lost 9 rounds. Tonight, in my opinion, the fight could have been a draw, but you know what I mean? It was that difference. This gave him an extra 2 rounds, just by being that a little bit more aggressive. What happens when a man goes in there, the size of Tyson Fury, and sets about him? Tyson Fury's got a full gas tank, unlike AJ. He punches now properly. Better than AJ as well, to be quite frank. We know. Look, go back and watch Fury versus Wilder. Fury throws heavy leather from round 1 to round 12 now. And by the way, don't forget, people, Fury was able to throw heavy leather against Wilder, who's actually dangerous. What do you think Fury gonna do when he's got a tippy-tappy middleweight in front of him? I honestly think it'll be a heavy bag session. I really do. Because Fury's got used to being able to negate a man who has serious power and who can hurt him at any time. If you can set about and stop someone who's actually dangerous, like Wilder, what's he gonna do with Usyk, who does all this pity-patty rubbish? Usyk couldn't even really hurt AJ, who was gassed and finished, and we know how vulnerable AJ is when he's gassed and when he's finished. Couldn't even put the man down. When Ruiz had AJ in that same position, or even Vladimir had AJ in that same position, AJ went to the ground. Usyk really never even got close to putting AJ to the ground. And I've been saying for a long time, I think Fury wipes the floor with Usyk. I'm even more convinced now. To be quite frank, I think Fury could do it either way. I think Fury can outbox Usyk, and I think Fury can moshe-bash Usyk. Obviously, I'd rather watch him moshe-bash Usyk. I think for Fury's legacy's sake, he needs to stop Usyk. That would be a great stoppage win to add to his resume. And looking at the heavyweight landscape right now, I've been saying for a while, there's no reason Fury can't go for knocking them all out. It's really a poor era, it must be said now. After watching that, very poor. If that's the best they have to offer, super poor. Now, Fury said it was rubbish showing and to get your checkbook out. Now, I can't lie to you. In my opinion, Fury needs to fight Usyk regardless. Usyk has already said he's not coming back unless it's Fury, which is fair enough. But what I don't want to hear is that, Usyk didn't look any good, so I don't need to fight him. I ain't trying to hear that, especially after seeing that. You need to go in there and knock the guy out, bottom line. That's the only thing I'm trying to hear. And number 2, I'm not trying to hear that, there isn't enough money. That's an easy fight for Fury. You shouldn't need a whole bunch of money. And let's not forget, people, he will still get paid 50 mil. Yeah, it's not like we're talking about, YB, he made 30 mil in his last fight and he's only going to get paid 10. No, the Saudis will pay him 50 mil. Facts. So the fight must happen now. I want to see Fury want the fight. I don't want to see Fury play these weird games. For once, can we just get people to do things properly, man? Yeah, represent the sport properly. I don't want to have this whole, oh, well, I'm retired. I don't want to hear that no more. I want to hear, I want to see Fury respect the game. Yeah, and respecting the game means, look how the old timers did it. The old timers went in there with the best. They didn't have this whole clown show around it. Oh, I'm not here, and oh, if you beg me to come back, I might think about. No, they were there, trying to put their name at the top of the list in the history books. Do you understand? These cats today seem to be interested in everything but that. They seem to be interested in money. They seem to be interested in whatever else. Very few of them are actually interested in trying to raise the sport or the purity of the sport to another level. I'm not saying, listen, Tyson Fury is his own man. He can do as he pleases. I'm just saying, Fury is really the only one left now. Yeah, he's been finished, man. Everyone now needs to forget about AJ. He is Fraudly Harrison 2.0. Yeah, he is a blown up Fraudly Harrison. He will go down as one of the most useless but yet biggest hype jobs in history. There'll never be a man who made so much money, really, from so little substance as AJ. Every time it mattered, he ain't show up. That's really for the last 5 years. The last time he showed up was against Vlad 5 years ago. And that really was one of the first fights he actually had. Let's take a trip down memory lane. In AJ's $100 million career, how many times did he really have to dig in? Okay, against Vlad. For a round. Against a 42-year-old Vlad. I'll give you that one. Dillian White? I'm sorry, I can't give you that one. To say AJ dug in would be a bit unfair to the GOATs who have actually had to dig in before. Do you understand? We can't devalue. We can't put AJ on that level. We've seen what other people have been prepared to do to their body. To be honest, I think it's a bit of an insult to the history of the sport to say that even AJ went to that place in the Vlad fight. I don't think he did. In there with an old man who never really was aggressive on the inside and who let you off the hook. Yeah? And was a million-year-old. So AJ really, in his whole career, never even went to that place and still cashed out of the game with 100, 200 million bucks. Fury is the only one left. Usyk. If people want to say Usyk is great at cruiserweight, I'll give him that. He is not a heavyweight. He's just not. I'm sorry. If that AJ, who was useless, can go 50-50 with Usyk, he ain't all that. Yeah? That was a bare bones AJ, and Usyk had all he could handle, really. Let's be real now. If AJ had any more, and AJ was broken in there, if he had any more, Usyk would have been toast. If AJ wasn't completely finished, Usyk would have been done with. That's not Usyk's fault. I'm just calling a spade here. So Fury, he mugging these guys off, and rightfully so. I'm not even blaming Usyk. Usyk did what he had to do to some extent. I think Fury was expecting him to be a lot more slick and a lot trickier than he really was. I can't lie to you. Based on the hype, based on the way I've heard people gassing Usyk up, I expected more. But then again, deep down in my heart, I always had a feeling that I never quite felt it, and this showing tonight backed that up. So yeah, Fury versus Usyk for me is a question of how quickly Fury can knock Usyk out. I really don't see any competitive intrigue there. I just don't. I don't see any angle of it. And I think, to be honest, the fact that Usyk wants to retire after the Fury fight, well, to be fair, Fury's going to finish him, so he would retire anyway, because he ain't going to have nowhere else to go. But when you think about it, then again, there would be nothing for Usyk, would there? Even if Usyk beat Fury, where would he go then? What, Dillian White? Come on now. So yeah, it makes sense. But I'm talking about, let's say Fury stays retired. Usyk has said he will not fight anyone else. What about Joe Joyce? What about Dillian White? they're still $1 million fights. And that's me talking about the money again, but the reason I say that is because what about being great? Yeah, I understand Usyk accomplished a lot more at cruiserweight, but that was another division, wasn't it? In as much as cruiserweight was dead as well, wasn't it? How many Hall of Famers have there been in cruiserweight when Usyk was there? None. I'm honestly struggling to say there's any world-class people at cruiserweight. Innit? Let's be real now. Name me some top world-class people at cruiserweight that Usyk beat. They're all like mid-level dudes, in my opinion, European level. Really poor. It's a really poor innings we've had in both heavyweight and cruiserweight. I mean, look at Filip Hrgovic. He was meant to be the next best thing. Just got beat by Zhang. Do you understand? Honestly, the stock of men that are knocking about today are second rate to history. Yeah, tracking heavyweight boxing, or tracking boxing in general, is definitely a reflection on the place we find ourselves in society. It really is. If you took a sample of the boxers today and compared it to 30 years ago, soft, real soft. It's quite pitiful actually, what I've just watched there tonight. Really bad. People were saying things like, oh, YB, Usyk going to come out and represent? Did he really come out and represent? AJ was begging to be put out of his misery. Usyk, I've criticised AJ, but Usyk really, for me, he didn't really even show that. You know what I mean? Yeah, he won the fight. He didn't really come out and say, you know what, let me represent for my country. AJ was begging to be finished for the last three rounds. Usyk just weren't really too interested. He was happy to try and nick the fight on points again. So that's why I ain't really too tough on Usyk. AJ was on a plate for 3 rounds. Anyway, salute to Fury. It's a shame. I was praying that AJ would win. Because realistically speaking, Usyk don't stand a chance. Neither does AJ. But in terms of potential, who has the most potential to beat Fury? It's never going to be Usyk, in my opinion. If AJ was able to have a brain transplant, that fight could get to like 60-40 for Fury, in my opinion. Usyk will never get there. Usyk could have the best mind in the world. A great small man will never beat a great huge man, in my world. If I'm wrong, listen, if Usyk goes out there and finds a way to beat Fury, I'll eat my hat. Anyway, let's see how it plays out. Salute to Fury. He is a cut above the bums in the world, in the heavyweight division today. A proper cut above. The rest of them are just hanging around and just bum slayers for the most part. Let's be real now. Yeah, Hrgovic, bum slayer. AJ, bum slayer. Who else you got? Usyk, he alright. Usyk kind of like in that mix. He like Fury here, Usyk here, AJ there. That's what I've got. No doubt. In fact, before I go, what I will say is as well, I am glad that Fury mugged these guys off. I wish he said some more words about Usyk. I'm sorry, about AJ as well. Big useless dosser heavyweight bodybuilder. He don't even bodybuild properly these days. At least he used to people. Listen, at least AJ used to smash things in the past. He'd smash the weights and then he'd smash someone's barnet. Now, only thing he's smashing is Fernando's dinner from last week. Yeah? What's that, Fernando? You had a McDonald's from last week. Let me push it in for you some more. That's the only thing he's smashing. He ain't smashing nothing else. Big facts. Yeah? He ain't smashing he ain't smashing no one in the ring. Tell a lie. Only thing to do with ring he be smashing is Fernando's. Big facts. Yeah? Let's call a spade here, people. Look how weak AJ's legs were in the last 3 rounds. His legs was trembling. Blame it on Fernando. Yeah, blame it on the zesty Saudi prince who have been doing God knows what to AJ. I hate to think, and that's why I feel sorry for AJ. God knows what he's been going through in Saudi. Yeah, AJ spent his whole camp with Fernando digging his guts out, and now he's got to go to Saudi. Well, now he's been in Saudi for a few weeks, and the princes have been having their way with him. Yeah, so it's one of them ones. But I don't care what no one says. Have you ever seen someone with their knees and their legs as weak as AJ's were? No, you haven't. Yeah, that's because you've never seen some zesty heavyweight boxer before. Yeah, there's a reason the rainbow flag dons don't box. Because their legs, they're bowed. Yeah, too much jelly legs. Big facts, 100%.